Boy, am I glad you showed up. So before I even introduce myself, I have a crazy story for you. I know the writing industry is filled with them, but this one takes the cake. So a friend of mine who has not yet published decided that she was going to send a query to her dream agent. We all have one, right? This story gets juicy. So she decided to compile it all together. She put a lot of effort into it. She sent it out. Within 24 hours, the agent sent something back, and it was really simple. It was like, yeah, no thanks, not for me, done. She was so livid that, by the way, I'm not advertising that you do this, do not do this, but she wrote a fake query for a book she did not have. She put a fake email, well, not a fake email address, she created an email address, gave a blurb to a book she had not written and had just made up on the spot, and then sent it in to waste the agent's time. So within 24 hours, the agent sends an email back, very short, and says, yeah, right up my alley. I'd love to see the first 40,000 words of this book. She calls me in hysterics. I'm in so much trouble. What did I do? I want to send this as my dream agent. I said, breathe. This was right before July 4th in America. So I said, it's around holiday. You are on vacation. You are not checking your email. You are not near your computer. It's fine, you have 4 or 5 days. I said, you have literally 4 or 5 days to write a book, go. So being the pompous person that I am, I called her up the next day and I was like, hey, how's that book coming? She responds back, oh, I have 10,000 words. I was so flabbergasted because I know 10,000 words is a lot, right? And she was writing a middle grade. So that was right then and there. She had a 6th of her book written. And it got me thinking, and I was so inspired by what she did. I said, all right, I'm gonna try it. Let me try it myself. So I sat down later on that evening. I did not have anything but a title that I had made up. And I had this small concept of what I wanted to do. And I sat down and I just started typing. And amongst the rest of that evening, I looked up different strategies for writing fast and the reasons why and the science behind it, because I wanted to kind of help her along. And within 24 hours, I contacted her and said, I myself have 10,000 words. Now, of course, I was on vacation and I had all the time in the world and I was willing to sit 4 hours. When I mean hours, I mean 18 to 20 hours in a day. And boom, 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 write this out. Now, some people don't have that time, some people do. Either way, the strategies I'm gonna give you today work. But the cool part about the story is she finished about 40,000 words in 3 to 4 days. And then she was able to edit really quickly and then send it off. And long story short, the agent did not want it. But because of that, she was able to finish writing the book within the next week or so, and then she published it through an indie publisher. But what happened with me was I continued working, and within 5.5 days, I had completed my, it was my 4th manuscript at the time. I had completed my 4th manuscript, and I was mind blown that I was able to do it because I didn't even have a concept. Now, whether you are a plotter or a pantser, it doesn't matter. These strategies I'm going to tell you today work for you, but I was able to do that, and then I spent a couple days editing, and lo and behold, we now have Madam Eldridge's Wayward Home for Unruly Boys. It has won multiple awards. I'm doing a self-plug as an indie author. Go, 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 look it up, buy it, tell all of your friends. I'm biased because I love it. But so too do the reviews and readers and people like. So go look it up on Amazon. I'm sure there's a million links around. But let's get you doing something just like this. So when you first have an idea of a story, whether it's you immediately have one, you've had one for a while, what do you normally do? You tell your friends, and you find images, you create mood boards, and these things help us to kind of understand where the story's going, or kind of help us to create those synapses in our mind. But the interesting thing is that when we're writing, we're picking so many parts of our brain in writing that the synapses get lost. So today I'm gonna give you some specific strategies to help you become as creative as you can, as quickly as you can, wrap your mind and help you to focus in on what you need to focus on in the writing process to get the writing process done a lot faster. And true to form, I wrote another manuscript right after this one, and I was doing, I would say about 1,500 words a day for about 2 weeks, and then I said, screw it, and I gave myself 3 full days, and I finished the second half of the book in 3 full days. And it's some of the best work that I've done, and I advocate for it so much. I'm like, you can do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. So anyway, so how do we tap into our brain's creative center? The best senses for memory that our brain has are images and sound. So especially when you're thinking about somebody who's passed away, the first thing we do is we create an image in our mind. And sometimes we'll hear their voices. These are so powerful. And I know a lot of you will find memory boards, or you will create mood boards, or you will look up images, but there's an easier way to do this, which really helps. So this is the tricky part. I used to not write with music, and now all I do is write with music. You do not have to listen to the music while you write, but here's what I want you to do. You're going to pick a song that associates in some way the mood, the sound, a song that you love, a song that reminds you of your writing, the place that it came from, whatever it is for you, and you're going to listen to that song on repeat. What I want you to do is, if you can, find the song on YouTube sped up. And the reason for that being is it should not be the words, it should not be even the theme behind the song, but it's literally going to be the tune that's repeating over and over, high sped, which is going to create almost like a trance for you. And what you do is you listen to the song on repeat, and while you're doing that, you're thinking about your story. So I go for a 30-minute walk. So I put the song on, I put it on repeat, and I think about my story, and I listen to the song. You can also focus in and have many songs. So for example, one song for a character, and one song for just the setting, and one song for the plot. And again, you don't have to have your whole story written, and the whole purpose of this is literally to build synapses in your brain. You want your brain to associate the music to all the thoughts that you have, and don't keep it to one specific thought. So take your character, even if it's not in the story that you're gonna do, take your character and put them into different situations. So I'll be walking, I'll think about my character, I'm making John up. And I'm listening to the song on repeat, and I'm walking, or I'm doing dishes or whatever, and now I'm going, how would John react to getting on a flight? How would John react to getting in a fight with his mom? How would John react to, and then I think about my story, oh, what do I want John to do when this happens in the story itself, or in this chapter or that chapter? And you're going to do this for a couple days. You can do it while you're in the writing process, although it works better beforehand. And what ends up happening is, as you listen to the song, the music triggers the synapses to all of the memories that you have. So when you get to a point in your story where you're like, what do I do? Put the music in and just start thinking. Every thought that you have had over the past couple days, that you have thought and built while you're listening to that song, is going to immediately come forward, and you're going to be able to pull out of your memory different ideas, and it's going to become a lot faster for you. Now, me personally, I used to have silence, dark room, and in here, and now what I end up doing is I end up putting the music on while I'm writing, and it helps me go a lot faster. I know some of you that will not work, so you can do this before you're writing or after you're writing, whatever it is, even doing it while you're in the shower. You have 30 minutes a day to do it, and you don't have to do it more than a couple days, although I tend to do it because I feel the more that you do it, the better it is. But you're gonna listen to it on repeat, and you're gonna think of that imagery and specific stories in there. I have to tell you that to this day, I was walking, I'll go walking, and one of the songs that I've associated with my writing will pop up, and I'll just start crying because it was a sad scene or something sad that happened to the character. And those associations are so strong, and it's really powerful. So I suggest that that's the best you do, but also print out images or find images online that associate with your story, because the more that you see and the more that you hear and the more the synapses that you make in your head, the easier it's going to come to create a problem. Because I know one of the biggest things with writer's block is that you just don't know what to do because you don't have an idea, or you can't figure out a problem to what you're doing, and this is the perfect solution. Because as you are doing it, you're literally going into a trance, because you're not listening to the song, because after a couple times of repeated over and over and over, you don't even hear the music anymore. You're now focusing solely on the intricacies of the story and all the information that you had. I guarantee it works. Go and give it a try. I promise. But if that's not something that works for you, that is fine. You don't have to, but that's one of the best ways that I found for me that pulls that creativity. But the brain really focuses, it works better when you focus on one thing at a time. And that's what I mostly want to focus on in this video, is how to write. And again, I'm probably going to make a lot of you mad. You're like, that's not the way that I write. It's not the way that I used to write. And now that I've adopted this new style, again, I can write really quickly. And the whole point of this is to write as fast as you can, as much as you can, and really get the best out of your creativeness and the best out of your writing style. So a lot of people love to edit while they write. Stop it. Stop it. Don't do it. Even if you're going to practice this just for a short story, I'm telling everybody here, create a small story, 2,000 words max. That's all you're going to do, and you're going to practice these skills, and if it works for you, take it. But do not edit while you're writing. One of the biggest things that we as writers do is that we are creating, we are writing, we are putting in voice, we are editing, and all of these different things create different structures, or use different structures in our mind and create different problems. And you are so overwhelmed by trying to finagle all these things at once, your brain gets clouded, you get overwhelmed faster, and you're not able to do as best a job as you can if you just focus on one task at a time. Here is how you're going to do that one task at a time. So you're going to start by writing just the plot. It's going to be awful. It's going to be absolutely awful. And I know so many authors who say, oh, my first draft, I would never show anybody. It's terrible. And it is. And it should be terrible. And if you're one of those people that you have to write beautifully and it has to be perfect, that's beautiful. That's for you. But you're not going to be able to write fast. So I want you to focus solely on plot. And the way that I describe this scenario is you want to think of it about like the human body. The first thing you want to do is you want to build the bone structure. You're just building the plot, boom, 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 boom. So if you're doing an adult novel, you might only hit 40,000 words, 50,000 words max when doing this process. And then you're going to go back, and I'm going to teach you how to go back. You're going to go back and you're going to add in that muscle, the important things. For example, more dialogue, more description, connections between the chapters and between the different plot points. And then once that's done, then you're going to go in and you're going to put on the skin and the hair and the beautiful things that make each of us unique and special. And those are your really special writing points. That's those things that you love to edit and focus on. But the cool part about this is that when you're only focused on plot, you're able to do it a lot more because your brain and your synapses are focused on one task. So you're able to do it quicker and faster. And then when you go back and you add in like the muscles, you're adding in just dialogue, you're only going to focus on dialogue. I'm going to break this down more, don't worry. But you're only going to focus on dialogue. So you're going to go through the entire manuscript and hit all of those dialogues. And not only does that work for creating a faster writing point, but also when you have a dialogue between two characters and they happen in multiple places in your novel, you're able to create a progression a lot easier, and you're able to add in more emotion, because in this scene you're going to go, oh, they're talking but so-and-so's not mad. But in the next scene, so-and-so got mad. So maybe at this scene, I want to make him feel like he's going to get a little more upset. Or maybe and so more ideas come to you in the connection between different parts in your story because you have created this way. So one of the best ways that you're able to do the body of the paragraph is you're going to want to add things in that you shouldn't. For example, I'm writing the plot, I have a great dialogue here, and you might sit there and go, how am I going to do this dialogue? What am I going to do? You're already veering off of the plot. So what you're going to do is you're going to do something that I call bookmarks or hashtags. Literally within the text, you're just going to write hashtag dialogue, and you might want to do hashtag dialogue and put the name of a character. Hashtag dialogue Maggie. And what you're going to do is you're going to write a simple dialogue. And the 2 or 3 characters, they're going to have a quick conversation, and then you're going to move on. And you're going to keep writing the plot. You are going to come back to that dialogue later and beef it up. And you continue with the plot. And then the same thing happens for sceneries. So whenever you get into a scenery that you really love, for example, a forest scene. I know that one of my stories has a really big forest scene, and sometimes it's beautiful and sometimes it's creepy. What I ended up doing was on a specific day, after I had the entire story written, I went back to all of my bookmarks, and I had 5 of them. And all you do is you literally put hashtag, and I put hashtag forest description, and you type into the search section in your document, and you'll be able to find where those hashtags are. So I found I had 5 descriptions, and I was easily able to mark what emotions there is, And then what I do, I plugged in my music and I thought only about the forest. And I closed my eyes and I felt like I was there. And suddenly I was able to describe it more because I was only focusing on the description of the forest within that next hour of writing. So I was able to not only have consistency in my words throughout the entire document, but I was also able to give more of my emotion in myself because I felt like I was there with the music. And then when I went to write, I was very consistent within it all, and I was able to focus specifically on the emotion and the piece that I wanted within that. Other things that you can do also beside bookmarks, again, before I get into that, you can do them with dialogue. You can do them with descriptions. You can do them with any and everything, even character descriptions. A lot of times, and I will only admit this to you and the whole world, when I think about my characters, I don't know what they look like. I cannot see their face. I can see the scenery, I can see the action, but it's like this blur on their face as they're going by, and I never know what they are. And my beta readers have always said, but what does she look like? I don't know, pick something, I don't care. And to me, that's not important, but to a lot of readers it is. So I learned early on in my writing process that that's something that I miss. So if you know that it's something that you're not good at, while you're writing, or even if you send it to a beta reader and have them mark it, where should the description be? And they'll tell you, put a hashtag there. So hashtag Johnny's description. And so when I'm going through, I'm like, okay, I gotta do Johnny's description. I get online, pictures of guys in suits, and comes up, and I pick one person and go, that's what Johnny looks like. And so then I'm able to either listen to my music or look at the visual that I pulled, and then I look at it and study it, and then I go, okay, I have 15 places in my novel where I have to add Johnny's description. There's nothing that irks me more when someone goes, Johnny's black hair cascaded down his face. Johnny's black hair was scrungy. Johnny moved his hand through his black hair. It's the same description over and over. I get it, he has black hair. I heard it 2 or 3 times. I don't need to hear it again. But there are other parts of Johnny that we don't know or that we can learn about, especially his clothing, or especially the way in which he has something unique on his face, like his freckles, or even if it's been over several days, describe how his beard has become longer. These small details help your reader believe the story, but also fall more into those visuals. And for you, it's really easy to add because in this one section in your writing, remember, you have written the entire story already through plot. You're filled with hashtags of things you have to add, and now you're just going into descriptions. Johnny has 15 descriptions. 4 or 5 of them get his hair. 1 or 2 of them talk about his scruff, and then the rest of them talk about his body movements and or what he was wearing and or the very first one, the piercing that he had and whatnot. And so it makes them more real too, because the readers catch on to these small things and they're able to not only visualize but connect with them, because my friend has scruffy beard with this, and so it brings people in, because it's not all about plot and it's not all about emotion and it's not all about dialogue. Writing is this harmonious thing, but you can only sing one part of the chorus at a time. So you really need to focus in on what you're doing. One of my biggest things, if you take nothing else from me, and most writers do this, and I don't think they even realize that most writers do this, at the bottom of your document, even before you start writing, the bottom of your document, I want you to have a parking lot or a notes section. This has saved me so much. I'm writing and suddenly I come to a part where I'm like, I don't know what to do. Write down the question. How is Maggie going to get to the castle? I have no clue. I couldn't figure it out. If this happened, then that. If that happened, then this. And that question is something that I plug my music into after I'm done writing that day, because I know that I have to fill it out tomorrow. And I'm listening to the music and I think about how are the different ways that she could get there. And all my synapses within that story and within those thoughts that I had are firing because I'm listening to that music, and I'm able to more quickly sometimes it's not fast, but I'm able to construct ideas. And I always say this, you'll come up with a billion bad ideas. That's not possible. That's not possible. And if you're doing that while you're listening to the music, that idea won't come back, because it will tell your brain, that's dead, that's done, come up with something new. And you eventually do. we as writers eventually always do, but we have so many different things. We have to edit, we have to do this, what's going on with the plot. Our minds are so scattered and we're not focused. So again, the whole thing is about focus, 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 focus. So you want at the bottom of your document to have a description of characters. I often do that because I forget that Amy was wearing this and wearing that. And so any bit of information that you're going to forget, any questions that you have, any character names that you like, and even the hashtags, because I will do a lot of hashtags. So I will end up going hashtag fashion Amy dash, what does this mean? I'm doing hashtag dialogue John, all the things that I'm doing for this one. I really want John to be angry. And so as soon as I create a hashtag in the document, I go down to the parking lot and I put it in so that I can refer back to it. And once things are done in the parking lot, I erase them. So not only is this good for keeping your ideas consolidated so you don't have to keep them up here, because again, you want to clear this out. The coolest part is that I'll even write certain dialogues or certain parts of my story ahead of time and put them down in the parking lot because they're so powerful. I'm coming to this moment in a second. And when you're looking at your document, because you have the parking lot at the bottom and you're writing up here, you never have a blank page in front of you. There's always something underneath, and so there's always something that you're writing. Even if it's a couple sentences, you're always typing and there's words beneath it, so you never have to stare at that blank page, because it's terrifying. Now, I'm gonna say something else which so many people don't like, but it is okay not to write the story in order. Let me tell you why. So, I remember I was writing Madam Eldridge's Wayward Hole for Unruly Boys. Go buy it. And I came to a part and I was like, I don't know. I don't know how to fix this. I was so frustrated. I put in my music. I was like, nothing was coming to me in 5 minutes. But what was coming to me, what was wrapping around in my head was a scene that I knew was going to happen about 5 or 6 chapters ahead. And what I do? I went, okay, this is where my brain is going. This is what I'm focusing on. This is where it wants me to go. And I went down to that parking lot and I wrote in chapter 17 or whatever it was, and I just started writing that. And I wrote chunks of it, and I was like, okay, I don't know what else to do. Boom, done. And I was like, oh, but you know, in that dialogue that's gonna happen, I know, blah, 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 blah. And this brings me to one of my last points. Sometimes you have nothing to write because you're just like, I don't know. Listening to the music, looking at your images, focusing on one thing. If none of that works because you're doing something in order, go out of order. But on top of that, what you're able to do is sometimes too many ideas come at once, which is why the parking lot is so good. And here's one of my secrets. When I have a scene that rushes through my head and I can see it so clearly, and these stupid little fingers can't go fast enough, I use speech to text. Now, it's awful because I have to go back and respell almost every word, and none of the quotes work, and it's a complete disaster. But when I feel like I can't get enough out, I do speech to text and I just, and I let it out. And it all comes out. And then when I'm done, then I can go back and I read through it. And that I don't consider editing, but I read through it and go, okay, all right, I see, and I fix it up and I do that, and I copy paste and I put it into the document and we're good. So on top of that, you want to focus your mind on, well, see, again, I'm trying to do too many things at once. I'm trying to look at myself. I'm trying to look at my notes. I'm trying to make sure that the time doesn't stand by. My brain is overwhelmed right now, and that's why I had that fart moment. And that's what we do when we're writing. It's literally my whole point. Focus on one thing. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to review in not such a way so you understand this. So one, I want you to focus your mind. So find music, imagery, things like that that really help you to focus. Build those synapses in your brain so that you're able to recall them very quickly by just listening to the music or looking at that image or thinking about it. And that's going to help that creativity come. And then two, you're going to write your story through bone first, where you're just writing the plot. If a dialogue's happening, write it short and quick. Don't try to go back and edit it or fix it. Because also the cool thing is once you're done with your story, you're gonna go, there is so much to fix with this. Go down to the parking lot. I need to do this. And you make a laundry list of things that you need to go back and do. And then you focus on one thing at a time, whether it's one day at a time, I'm only focusing on dialogue, one day at a time, I'm only focusing on something else, or it's just in this next hour. But you're now concentrating only on the conversation. I would pop my music back in, listen to it 30 minutes, do the dishes, take a shower, whatever you need to do, and then go, okay, I've thought about the dialogue, I've thought about the situation, I've seen it in my head, sit down, and you will be so surprised how quickly it comes out, and not only that, how beautifully it comes out, because you've almost lived it because you've built those synapses. You're not creating it from that one moment, you've literally experienced it, and you've literally rehearsed it in your head. So for me, I would spend half a day going, I'm doing only dialogue. And then the second half of that next day I would go, I'm only doing descriptions. And so I would then go through. Now, here's the coolest part. One, you want the bones of the story, the plot done. Then you can go back and you can add the meat, for example, the dialogues, and you can add the descriptions and things like that. And then we talk about the skin and the hair and the clothes and all the pretty things that make all of us beautiful and unique. That's what makes you as an author, you. That's what I want you to add in the very last bit. You should not add in, now you can, if the moment arises and if you feel it and you're like, oh, this would be so add it in. But whatever you are truly good at, I want you to add that in at the very end. Why? Because not only will you have read the story at least 2 or 3 times by editing and going through it, but then you know the parts which really need help, or you know the parts which are beautifully done that could really add an extra And whatever it is that you do really well, I want you to go in and I want you to then plug in those things because you know exactly where to go and do it. And a lot of times I hear authors all the time saying, I woke up the next day and I read something and went, oh, that's beautiful. I had no clue. Oh, in the moment I wasn't there and it's finally come. And a lot of times we get shocked by how beautiful we can create things. But at the same time, we're also so good at our craft because we know the things that we do that are very good. So just as much as those moments might happen, you went, oh, I was just writing and I had no clue that it was beautiful. You also know what you're so good at. You know what your readers love, or you know what you write that makes you uniquely you. Add it in at the end. Go and find those things. And here's the last little bit that I will tell you. And this is how, selfless plug again, this book was able to be so successful, is that I have Easter eggs and other clues hidden throughout. Once I knew the story and I had everything done, I was so easily able to skip through the document because I knew it very well, because I knew all of my sections, all dialogue, all descriptions, all this, all the scenes with this character. And because I knew it so well and I had those synapses in, I was able to pick out and put in different little sentences and descriptions to give readers an idea of what was coming next, or to give them clues that they weren't quite sure were clues. And so readers who have said, I go back and I read it again and go, oh my gosh, suddenly this all makes sense. Or they go, oh, that was just a line that was simple, and now that I've read the end of the book, it's one of the most important things. And it keeps your story alive, but it makes your writing so much more decadent and delicious and whatnot. So anyways, that being said, you can write a book in 7 days. You have to have 7 days to write. And I mean full 7 days. Most people can't do that. But you can write quickly if you want to. And just remember that your story is your story, and the way that you do it and the way that works best for you is what I want you to do. These are only tricks of the trade that have worked for me, that I found that other authors work for as well. There are a million other strategies that you all can share with each other, or I'd love if you shared with me. These are the ones that I found work best, not only with me, but with most of the people that I talk to. But I encourage all of you, if you do nothing else for me, I want you to go and I want you to try the music. Of anything else, I want you to try the music. I was not a music fan at first with writing, but pick a song, fast forward it, make it sped up. You can even type in blah, blah, blah song sped up, and then listen to it for even 10 minutes. And just think about your character or think about your story. And then in the next day or two, come back and just listen to it sped up again. And I guarantee you, you will have already built some synapses and new ideas will pop into your head. And it's a tool that I now cannot live with. So thank you so much for coming. in this fast speed-ness for learning how to write a book in 7 days. You can do it. Even if it's not 7 days, do it in a month. You can do it. Take the time, but remember, be concise. Make sure that all of your ducks are in a row, only about dialogue, only about plot, only about this, only about that. Focus on getting the structure down and then going back in and adding it beautifully. So the last plug, I'm going to just show you one more time because, oh my gosh, look, it's an award-winning book. Madam Eldridge's Wayward Home for Unruly Boys. Hopefully the sequel will be coming out within the next year. I have 1 or 2 other books coming out as well with my publishers, Conquest Publishing. They are incredible. I love them so much. And if you want to reach out and contact me, please do. On this beautiful whiteboard that I stole from my school because I'm a special ed teacher, you can see my author name, Benjamin Ryan, my website, benjaminryanbooks.com. You can find me on Twitter or Blue Sky at brclothwrites. You can also find me on Instagram. Sometimes I'm on there, sometimes I'm not. I tried to blow that up and no one was interested. And of course, Madam Eldridge's Wayward Home for Unruly Boys. So, get off of here, go find a song, think about a short story you want to do, listen to it on repeat, think about those scenarios, and then write the story first. Go back, add in more to that dialogue, then add in more just to the descriptions, then add in more because you're focusing on one thing at a time. And then when you're done, read it through once together and you will realize that you are the incredible, fast-writing author that you always knew you could be. From my heart to yours, read books, write books, share books, explore books, go to your local library, and never forget that words change lives. Hopefully these ideas changed your lives, and hopefully one day I will read your work that will one day change mine. Last plug, Madam Eldridge's Wayward Home for Unruly Boys. Go get it. Happy writing. Mwah!